Gold is something that is always, it's always captured the human mind. From centuries away, they would say the Egyptians, there's records of the Egyptians going for conquests of gold in 3600 BC. So from that time onwards, gold was something that was very, very interesting to people. We Indians are very, very good at hoarding up gold. We just love our gold. I really can't understand why people love gold. I can't see that color. It's a terrible color. There's so many other things that have much more beautiful colors than just this gold. And I have no clue why. In Kerala, we are sometimes even worse. You see before the marriages, them going for that gold shopping. Such a terribly boring thing. You have to sit and they'll be looking at one gold and they'll say, this is better than that. I'm thinking there's no difference. It's pretty much the same. All the designs look the same, but maybe that's why I became a priest. And I don't understand any of those differences. Apparently in India owns or has 1/4 of the world's gold, the consumable gold, that people use. 1/4 of it. 18,000 tons of gold is what the Indians have. Yeah. I still remember when we used to leave the house or we are going out somewhere, my father would tell my mother, when we are locking all the doors and things like that, he would always say, is the gold secure? Have you locked the cupboard with the gold? In Malayalam, it actually sounds Sornolla cupboard putiyo. Basically means the one with the cupboard with the gold. Is it all locked and kept? Now, as they've grown old, there's no cupboard, there's no gold. But that's one of the first things I think in India, that's one of the first things they do. They secure, and there's always gold in their cupboard. Indians are obsessed with gold. We have 10% of the gold stock in the world belongs to the Indians. Now, why is gold so precious? Gold is precious because of two things. One, it is very hard to procure gold. It's very difficult. The whole process in getting gold is very difficult. And obviously because it's very rare. It's not easy to actually have gold, and that's why things become precious. Something that is precious when the king would offer it to that little babe in the manger. Something that's precious, very, very precious. And when we come into the presence of the Lord, there's nothing more precious than our hearts. That's the core of who we are. Nothing we can offer can be as precious to God than our hearts. And He wants it. It is not a gift He in humility will say, oh no, I don't require this. When we want to have what we call as humility with a hook. Have you understood what humility with a hook is? You feign humility. You just act as though you're humble. But it's a hook. You really actually want it. Oh no, I don't need this. I don't need this. It's pretty much when you would come and give me food and I say, oh, I don't need it. I don't need it. And I'm sure in your mind you're thinking, you don't even cook. You need it. You better eat it. It's called humility with a hook. Because, and with God, with the Lord, when it comes to offering our heart, He doesn't say He doesn't need it. He says, I want your heart. Because your heart will belong to me. Whatever else you give me doesn't matter. Because what I want is what is precious. What I want is something that has to go through a process. To be able to offer our heart to God, it has to go through a process. Not any heart. He doesn't just want a heart that is messed up, a heart that is disturbed, a heart that is unfaithful to Him, a heart that doesn't have God at its center and core. He wants us to offer a heart that has gone through a process, just like gold goes through a process. The whole process of gold actually is a very lengthy process. We kind of think that it's just about melting gold and pouring it, and then you get those, as they will show in some of the advertisements, and then you'll get that gold bar. It's not just like that. When you have to process gold, first of all, procuring the gold itself, getting the gold itself is difficult. There are people who go into the gold mines, and now maybe they have much more better machineries, but earlier on they had to chisel their way through that rock. Even now actually they have to in many ways chisel a lot before they even reach somewhere. But it's not just about them going and doing what they do under the gold mines. We Australians know it very well. Everyone's been to a gold mine? Yes? How many of you, when you've gone to you haven't been to the gold mines? Nothing interesting. It's all the ones that are already done. And then they'll show you some place and they'll say, you can search inside there, you might get gold, right? How many of you have done that? I went to 2-3 places. I've been in Sydney, here as well. Not searching for gold. I just went to see what's there underneath the earth. But they then show you a place where you can actually search for gold. How many of you have tried that? Other than getting your hands dirty, nothing else happened, didn't? Yeah. So you kind of go there and you're searching for that gold. But the whole process is far more than that, because you have these big gold mines with all these big companies. That's not a process that just starts because you're walking around with a metal detector and suddenly you just detect something. Apparently, it takes nearly 10 to 20 years for a company to start mining gold, after they've known that there is gold there. Because they have to take this through a whole long process of accuracy, the size of the deposit, how much is there, is it worth for them to do it efficiently and safely? There's a lot of things that go into that process of even just starting the mining of that gold. And then they start the mining of the gold that then goes through the process of getting all the gold, procuring all the gold, and it has to then go through that refining process. The refining process is not just melting it. That melting goes through multiple procedures. They say that 90% of pure gold comes from the mines, and then they have to refine also gold that comes from the pawnbrokers. That has only 35% purity in it. And then they will first wash it in all chemicals to get 99.99 concentration of it, and then they will melt it. After they start melting it, after its washing has been taken place so that it goes through taking off that base metal, they will take off the base metal, they will take off the silver that's there into it, and they will melt it, refine it into cornflakes kind of gold. Very, very thin. It looks like cornflakes. Process is not over. After that, they will put it through another set of chemicals and then take off any kind of impurity that comes from there as well. And then they will melt it again. And then they will powder it and make it like sand. It's called sand gold. That's one of the purest forms, the sand gold. Have you got your gold now? Yes. Not yet. Then you have to melt it again. And after melting it again, they will make it into grains. And after making it into grains, that's another purest form of that gold. After making it into grains, they will melt it again. And then they will make the cast or the coins or the little biscuits that you have. We call them gold biscuits. And all through this process, they are already checking to see how much of purity is there in that gold. If that gold does not have the purity, it will have to go through the process all over again. So refining gold and getting gold to that state where it is worthy of being sold and given in its purest form is a long, lengthy process. And to get our heart to that state of purity, to offer it to God, requires a refining process, where we are put through that process. And that is what all through our life we are doing. We are putting ourselves through a process every day to present our hearts in its purity to God. Not to just come into the presence of the Lord and tell the Lord, Lord, my heart is yours. It's so easy to do that, to just look at the Lord and say, my heart is yours. But has it gone through that refining process? Have we permitted our hearts to go through that refining process? And very often, gold is melted at 1,400 degrees. We have to put our hearts through that process of pain to be purified and to be refined. And we should always desire that my heart be refined, my heart be pure. Don't offer a gift that is unworthy of God. Don't offer a heart that is not true to God. Don't offer a heart that is unfaithful to God. Don't offer a heart, as Jesus said, where our legs are in both boats. That is what we speak about, isn't it? In Matthew, I think it's Matthew chapter 6. Right, Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. Matthew chapter 6, verse 24 onwards. Can we read that? No one can serve two masters, for a slave will either hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and wealth. You cannot put your leg in both boats. And it's something that we need to ask ourselves, how very often we've been offering our heart to God, but how deceptive and how shallow was that offertory? How shallow was that offertory? I'm a person who always says when, sometimes I can get myself into trouble because I say that, but very often when people offer things to the church, you've been using something at home and now you've kind of, upgraded. And when you've upgraded, where does that which was downgrade, where does that go? Yeah, the church might require it. Come and give it off to the church. Sometimes we do that with God as well, even with our heart. Give something that is below the grade. How can you give a gift, a heart, that is not up to its mark, without working on it, without asking the Lord to purify it? And that is what God's law does to us. It purifies, it takes us through that refining process. And I should be prepared to go through that refining process. Let's just go into Psalm 19, verses 7 to 10. Psalm 19, verses 7 to 10. Can we read? Psalm 19, verse 7 to 10. Can you read? If you can't read, let's do 7 to 8 first. Luke is back. Yes. The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The decrees of the Lord are sure, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is clear, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The ordinances of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. Verse 10. More to be desired are they than gold, even much fine gold, sweeter also than honey, and dripping from the honeycomb. Even more pure than fine gold. The precepts of the Lord, the law of the Lord. We put our heart through the process of getting refined by God's law. That is where our heart should always be. Our heart should be led by God's law. And that is why I'm a person who believes, I'm not saying that I practice it all the time. And so I'm preaching. One thing when I preach, it's not because I'm very holy. I love preaching is because it's always reminding me, Michael, remember what you're telling them. Where are you? The only difference is that, you don't get to know. But I've always believed if we Christians don't have holidays. Christians don't have holidays. Right, Jean? She's shocked, actually. Do you have a day when you cannot be a Christian? Are you permitted to have a day when you cannot be a Christian? I'm a priest. Am I permitted to have a day when I'm not a priest? Mondays are my day off. That's Monday, it's my day off. One person asked me, why do you want a day off? Your priests just keep working. You're like a person who came to me once when I was at the retreat center in Tabor. I was sick that day and it was a Thursday. That's the only day we get as a little break. And I was sick and this person came to me and said, Father, I want you to pray. Came all the way and said, I want you to pray. And I said, I'm not feeling well. That's okay, Father. Jesus will heal you. You pray for us. But the reality is, even if Monday is my day off, I don't cease to be a priest. I cannot cease to be a priest. Every time of the day, every time of the night, even when I sleep, even at 2 in the morning, be it 3 in the morning, be it 4 in the morning, it doesn't matter. When I'm with my parents, when I'm with my siblings, when I'm with my friends, when I'm in private, I'm still a priest. Isn't that true? Yes. The law of God, according to what's good for my priesthood and what's healthy for my priesthood and whatever binds me within my priesthood is active 24/7. Isn't that true? Yes. I'm supposed to live the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. I'm bound by that law 24/7. I'm bound by that law. And that is why, though it might be can be a little scandalous to some, but even if Pope Francis or the future popes permit priests to get married, have married clergy because of situations, if they permit priests to get married, we religious priests cannot. Parish priests might be able to, not when I'm a parish priest, because we take the vows of chastity. We take it as a vow. That means irrespective of what happens, this is still my vow. That's perpetually professed. That's our vow in baptism. That my heart will belong to God. I will live according to the law of God. My heart will move according to God's law. And therefore, when I'm a Christian, I'm not a Christian who switches on and switches off according to my Sunday Mass. I'm not a Christian who switches on and switches off according to my prayer time. I live by the ordinances of God. If I live by the ordinances of God, that is what Psalm 19 is telling us. The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The decrees of the Lord are sure, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is clear, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The ordinances of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, than the finest of gold. the law of God is what puts me through that refining process. Is it hard? It is hard. Is it tough? It is tough. The law of God is not easy because as human beings, we always have a natural inclination to food. Apart from food. Sin. There's a natural inclination for human beings towards sin. Isn't sin more attractive? Isn't partying more attractive than coming and spending time in church?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Very often it is.
Sometimes.
Yeah. If we ask you to spend more time in the church than more time forget about the partying, even your gathering, just to be with your friends. It's always a choice we have a tendency to lean towards. So where is our heart? Has it gone through that refining process of God's law, even when it is hard, when it is tough, to be able to be ruled by God's law? Only then is my heart purified enough. If my heart is ruled by the world, somewhere or the other, the things of the world will start showing in me. What I focus on is what I live by. If I'm focused on the world, I will live by the ways of the world. If I'm focused on God and His law, I will live by God's law. And it's so hard to do that. Just like gold, to reach that stage is so hard to go through that process. That's why it's not very easy to be a Christian. That is why it's so significant that gold was offered to Jesus. Not just because, it was precious or it was costly, but because it has gone through a process. We read in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 18. The book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 18. Book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 18. Therefore, I counsel you to buy from me gold refined by fire, so that you may be rich. What is that? The white robes to clothe you and to keep the shame of your nakedness from being seen. And it's called the salve. And the salve to anoint your eyes. It's a kind of medication to anoint your eyes so that you may see. I counsel you. God is telling us, I counsel you to buy from me the gold that has been refined. Let it be refined. Let our hearts be refined so that we might be able to wear the white robes of purity. That is what we are going to offer to God. That is what we have to work towards. Lord, make my heart pure. Lord, refine it. Even if it is hard and difficult, refine it. I love today morning's reading. I think it's Isaiah chapter 30, verse 21, I think. Isaiah chapter 30. Where are we? Yes. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 21. Is it 21 or 20? Can you go before that? Isaiah 30, verse 20. And when you, sorry, that's not the one. Luke 20, 20. Isaiah 30, 20. Okay, so it says, truly, O people in Zion, inhabitants of Jerusalem, you shall weep no more. He will surely be gracious to you at the sound of your cry. When he hears it, he will answer you. And then it says, though the Lord may give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet your teacher will not hide his face from you. Though he gives you the bread of adversity. It's not easy to go through that process of refining, and every day we go through that process. Be happy that you're going through that process. Put your heart through that process. Let it be refined enough to be offered to God, because we cannot offer something that is below the Lord's dignity. To be able to offer a heart that is purified. When you purify the heart to its perfection, who dies there? I die. And then it is God's law. How very often our life and our hearts are made impure because of the I. I'm hurt by what she did, and so I will not talk to her. That is it. It's the I. My heart is now it's not refined anymore. What is refining? When I now go to Jean and I tell her, no, I'll still love you because you're a creation of God. Is it painful? It is painful. And she will still hit me. Not physically. She will still speak about me. And I'll still have to go through that fire. How many times we say, like Peter, how many times should I forgive? I'm done with this.
77.
Yeah, no, Peter said 7 times. Can I count 7 times? Jesus said 70 times 7. Isn't that a refining process? Oh, it is terrible. It is terrible to go through that process. But if we are to present a heart that is worthy of God, that is the only way we can present that heart. We cannot present something that is below God's dignity. All God's ordinances and law doesn't sit well with everyone. Isn't that why many people leave the church and go? Do you think they leave the church because they don't believe in the Eucharist? No, it's not just that. They just think that these laws are ancient. It stops me from doing what I want to do. It's restrictive. It puts boundaries for me. And I don't want boundaries. I don't want to be living in this situation where I'm covered by all these laws and these rules that they bring up, and I don't want to live within those laws. And that is what Psalm 19 said when we read it. His ordinances, his commandments, they are all blessedness for me. We need to reach that state where we think to ourselves, his law and his ordinances are blessedness for me, because it is not restricting me, it is purifying me. It is purifying me. I need to desire that purification. That's the only way I can offer it to God. Zechariah, the book of Zechariah chapter 13, verse 9. The book of Zechariah chapter 13, verse 9, it says, I will put this third into the fire. So it starts with, awake, O shepherd, awake, O sword, against my shepherd, against the man who is my associate, against the Lord of hosts. Strike the shepherd, that the sheep may be scattered. I will turn my hand against the little ones. In the whole land, says the Lord, 2/3 shall be cut off and perish. 1/3 shall be left alive. I will put this 1/3. Do you want to be a part of that 1/3 that's alive? Yes or no? Yes. 2/3 are gone. They're all rubbish, all pushed off. 2/3 is gone. Do you want to be in the 2/3? No. That's set aside. No. Then you want to be in the 1/3? Yes. Yes or no? Yes. If you don't want to be in the 2/3 and the 1/3, I don't know which other you're going to find yourself in. So you make your own space. The Lord says, I will put this third into... What happened? Zechariah chapter 13, verse 9. It's not there? No? Which Bible is that? Okay. I will put this third into the fire. You want to be that 1/3? Yes. That's the only way you're going to get to heaven, any which ways. So, I will put this third into the fire, and I'll refine them as one refines silver, and test them as gold is tested. But I will put them through that fire. That is what God's law does to us, puts us through that fire. But it is not our loss. It is not a lack of freedom. It is not something where we see ourselves as being restricted, but rather we see ourselves as being purified, for that is the only thing I can offer to God. A pure heart I offer to God. Gold has to be offered in purity, not in impurity. That is what we offer unto Jesus. And as we are offering that gold, they say the finer the gold becomes, the more delicate it is. Our hearts are very delicate. We have to handle it with a lot of prayer. Handle your heart with so much of prayer. Cover it with prayer. Every day to be able, because we are fighting this constant battle that the world throws to us. Every day we are tempted. Every moment we are tempted. Be it in our workplace, we are tempted. When we are with friends, we are tempted. When we are in the church, we are tempted. I've had so many people who have actually told me sometimes they see the statue of the Blessed Mother and they've been tempted. Satan doesn't leave us even within the church. How often when you come to church and you see someone you don't like, doesn't it make you discomfortable? Isn't it true? It makes you uncomfortable. When you come to church and there's someone who you actually don't like, you don't sit very right with them. And then let's be very honest. You don't like someone. Are you going to see that there's space right next to them and go and sit there? Let's be very truthful. If there are 10 other spaces, are you going to choose the space that's right next to the person you don't like?
No.
We won't do it.
Yeah.
Within the church also, he won't leave us. When the priest is giving the homily like I'm giving now and it's taking too long and you look, when is it finished? No, first they'll kind of rub their hands. Then when he doesn't stop, they'll show it.
No, we don't do that.
Who knows? Maybe under your arms, you're doing it under the bench, under the pews. And then when he doesn't stop still, but doesn't it irritate you sometimes when you're there, things are not actually happening the way you're really comfortable in seeing things, or the way you're comfortable in worshiping, and things are slightly different? Sometimes things kind of go wrong, things are not in a very good state. And when that happens, the irritation builds up. Isn't that true? It does. Well, for all those who are watching online, like I said yesterday, exactly at that consecration, I'm telling you, forget you. I was disturbed yesterday when it happened. During the consecration, I was disturbed, and I'm the priest. He will not leave us, even within the church. We are fighting a constant battle. Handle it with so much of prayer. It won't be enough. That is how we need to handle our heart. You take gold and you put it in all these very exotic boxes. Honestly, to tell you, I like those boxes better than the gold. The gold doesn't interest me, obviously, but some of those boxes are pretty cool. But nicely in velvet. And then, you take it so delicately. You put it delicately. You know when people are wearing imitation jewelry, they're very bothered. Just take and push it off here and there, it breaks, who cares? But when it's gold, it's very delicately used. Your heart is so delicate. So delicate is our heart. Fill it with so much of prayer that he doesn't steal it, mess it up. And we in our ignorance offer that to God. What happened? Oh, sorry, thank you. So when we have, I'm not a person who drinks tea and coffee. So when the milk is there in my fridge, it's not used. I keep it as only because when they come to the office and they're doing their counting, they need to drink that tea. So that's why sometimes Monday early morning I realize there's no milk. I have to run and go, and sometimes I have the milk that's kept over there, and I'm so scared that it will have gone beyond the expiry period. No, but the long life, once it's open, so they'll have opened it on Monday. You're supposed to finish it supposedly in five days. And even if that means the next Monday where they left it, it'll be there itself, because I don't drink tea or coffee. So that's just going to be there. So what I'm scared of is the next week they will come, and those who are doing accounting are also people who are elderly. So I'm so scared they're going to get a tummy upset. They will take it. I've kept it over there, presenting, thinking that it is drinkable. But it is not. How many times we think it is presentable, but it is not. Don't offer something that's not presentable to God. Let it be purified. Let it be cleansed. And don't let yourself think it's okay, it's fine. The Lord will just accept. It's not about what the Lord accepts. When you give me something, it's not about how I accept it. I might be okay with it. But I would think you should have thought. You should have thought. You don't demean me by giving me something and telling me, I just have it. And I'm talking in terms of God and us. Don't let that happen. Our hearts are very, very delicate. Gold, they say, cannot be tarnished. That's one of the reasons why gold is so costly, because gold cannot be tarnished. Silver, that it starts losing its color, but gold, you don't need much of polishing of gold. It kind of holds itself. It cannot be tarnished. Do we let our hearts get tarnished? That which is supposed to be like gold, that which is supposed to be purified and refined, are we letting it get tarnished? There's this, I just love it because my novice master used to say it all the time. He used to say it in Malayalam, and I was terribly bad at Malayalam, and so that was one of the only things that I remembered when he used to speak. But in Lamentations chapter 4 verse 1, how the gold has grown dim. It's actually impossible. Gold cannot grow dim. But it says, how the gold has grown dim. How the pure gold is changed. The sacred stones lie scattered. How has gold grown dim? The Lord is crying to us and telling us, how has your heart grown dim? What has happened to you? What has happened to you, my son? What has happened to you, my daughter? You are precious. I created you. When we come into this world pure, other than original sin, nothing else, what has happened to this gold? Why has it become so dim? Why has it become so lifeless? Why has it become so dead? This Advent, when we are going to offer something to God, we have to offer something special, because you and I are special. You and I are special. Our heart is special. Gold can become what it is because gold has the potentiality to become that. That is why we expect that of gold. Isn't that true? Yes. You expect gold to be so pure is because you know it has the potential to be so pure. Why does God expect a pure heart from us? Because we have the potentiality for that. We are His. We are created in His image and likeness. Let's not think that I can give lesser and that's okay. When your children, how many of you have children? Why is it so difficult for you to have children? I know when it's teenage kids and all that, you're pretty much, I'm done, Father. There's more on the way down, on the way up. But when you have kids, you see your children and you know the potential they have, right? And doesn't it disappoint you when they don't do to their potential? Not because they've not come, they are not come in the first ranks, or they are not right up there, but because they are not doing according to their potential. You know there is potential in them. That's how God looks at us and says, I know the potential you have for purity because you're from me. I'm pure, then you will be pure. That is what we offer. A heart like gold. Let that be the offertory we give today. So when we enter into this adoration tonight, and we offer that final gift, that gift of our heart, that which is precious, that which goes through that refining process, tell the Lord, Lord, during this season of Advent, you refine me. You refine me. And if there's anything where the eye is making or creating a hindrance to your act of refinement, then Lord, kill the eye. That's why they always say you have to die to yourself. That's one of the most difficult things to do, to die to ourself. But that's the only way Jesus can then be completely filled within our hearts, and he rules and reigns there as the King of our hearts. We pray for that gift, that grace.